So I'm sitting here in the car waiting for a field trip to get started for Kendall for school today, and I was reading in Psalms 139, and it's talking about how God knows us. He searches us. He knows our thoughts. He knows what's going on in our mind. He formed us in our mother's womb. He knitted us together. Um, he formed us, and he knew us. He knew the length of our days. He knew the plan that He had for our life. And I was just thinking this morning how, it says at the very beginning of that chapter 130, Psalms 139, and how I believe it's David that wrote this particular one that's talking about how, God search me. God, you search me. You know me. Even the thoughts that I think in my mind, you see them from afar off. You see them even before they come to be a thought, which is just so wild to me that God knows us that intimately and that well, that even before that thought, whether it's a positive or a negative thought, before it even comes to your mind and you think it, God knew it was coming. God knew it. God knew it, and He still loved us enough. And that's what that just bewilders me so much today, because even on my best days, I am so not worthy of God's grace. And I would, challenge you to examine your heart and think about, even on your best days, how much you struggle. Even, on your worst days, how bad it is, how we are so filled with sin, how our hearts are so impure. Even though on our best days we're trying so hard, our hearts are still so impure. And even on our best days, we couldn't have earned our salvation. And I just want to encourage you this morning. Those little, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, shout out to Nicole, about how so many times in our lives, how she had mentioned how God really dealt with her about, when somebody comes over, when we have company that comes over to our house, you've got laundry that's all over your table or all over your couch, and somebody's coming over and you're like, oh crap, I gotta clean up, and you throw everything in your bedroom and you close the door. How many times do we do that with God? How many times do we, God, here, you can see the rest of the house. Let me show you what's this room. Let me show you my fancy china. Let me show you, all these, my recipes. Let me show you this. But God, you can't have this. You can't have this area of my life. And it just, when she said that, it really opened my eyes, and it made me think on how many times do we do that? God, you can have, God, you can have my finances. God, you can have the jobs that I do at church, but you can't have my kids, or you can't have my husband, or you can't have this relationship, or maybe it's, God, I trust you with my job. God, I trust you with my family, but you can't have my finances. I challenge you today to think about and really pray about that one area that you have completely closed off from God, because He knows you. He knows the ins and the outs, ups and the downs. He knows your desires, whether they're good or they're bad desires. He knows you, and you can't hide from Him. It says, keep reading down in Psalms 139, it says, where can we go to hide from the Lord? If we go up and ascend to heaven, He's there. If we make our bed in the pits of hell, He's there. There's nowhere that you can go to hide from God. Your sin does not hide from God. Your victories do not hide from God. He sees it all, and He still loves you. He still loves me. On my best days, I am a horrible person on my best days, but God still loves me. I'm a work in progress. You're a work in progress, but God still loves us, and He searches us, and He knows us. And I challenge you today to search yourself, take a personal inventory, and find that one area. It may be more than one area. Find those areas that you have completely locked God out and said, God, you can't go there. Don't go there. And let Him go and just carve out those things that don't need to be there. I did a video a while back about, you can find it on YouTube, Life Unscripted Ministry, search that, no spaces, about how I had went to the dentist and I had cavities, and I had not allowed, there's some areas that we don't allow God to go in and dig out the stuff that's dead and the stuff that's painful, because it's painful when you have to look in the mirror and look at your sin. But God loves you, and He wants to love you through it, and He wants to make you better. And this pain and this mess in your past, or the stuff that you're dealing with now, that's going to help somebody if you're willing to let God go through and dig out and clean out those places that you've locked away from Him and the rest of the world that God still knows about. I challenge you today, find those places and let God have His way, even in those painful places. Love you guys. Live life unscripted. Share with somebody if you're encouraged today.